Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to the Other Side Lifestyle Podcast with Jim and Jacked Aram. Today's episode is titled The Lady from Michigan. From a conversation we just had that you guys will not hear about unless Aram brings it up. Not because our guest is from Michigan. EC, where are you from?
I'm in Maryland, and actually from Maryland. Spent a lot of time all over the U.S., but back home in Maryland.
Nice. I'm fairly close. I'm in New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, do you go to Ocean City, Maryland?
I don't. I never grew up doing that. Yeah.
Where do you go instead of...
You never went to Secrets?
I guess I did. Well, not Secrets, but I guess I did senior week in Ocean City. That's my Ocean City experience. My parents love to travel, and my stepfather's from India, so I've been all over the world. So we would take some pretty cool trips.
Yeah, but not to the Maryland
That's a good point.
Beach.
Not to Ocean City.
Mean, you missed out on the greatest place to be.
That's true. I did miss out.
Right.
It can be really beautiful. Maryland's got some beautiful sections.
Yeah, you were busy traveling the world doing what people think are cool, missing out on the coolest thing right in your backyard. It's a shame. Right. I feel bad. I feel bad for your worldwide adventures.
So, EC, you're a coach, you're an educator. Now, are you coaching coaches at all, or are you just educating Gen Pop?
Both. So I started just doing direct to consumer. I used to work for CrossFit for a long period of time. So a lot of my people come out of the CrossFit functional fitness space. And so it was more education and helping them with their nutrition. And then, I would get coaches who said, okay, I want to teach people how you teach people. So now it's not technically a certification, but they come through my system. They learn how I teach it, and they can become an affiliated coach.
Oh, cool. Okay. So essentially just arming them with as much information as they need to get moving. Now, is this going to be supplemental to stuff like PN level 1, stuff like that? And as well, are you doing the nutrition and training piece, or just the nutrition piece?
Just nutrition.
Okay.
Just nutrition. I love fitness. My most successful clients are fitness practitioners, but I just focus on the nutrition. I would say, again, most of my audience has a fitness angle. So they want to know about the more muscle mass, and they're interested in improving their 5K times or more pull-ups. So there's definitely that interest, but I don't give them any programming. Okay. But it's very much like a precision nutrition level 1. When they go on, they're kind of subscribing though. Precision nutrition, I took it years ago, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but it's very very good information, but it doesn't give coaches, okay, now you have to go do coaching this way, where I teach my 3 pillars method, and there's a lot of flexibility within it. I definitely am not saying that everybody falls into a certain, square, but still the coaches who are signing up with me are saying, okay, I want to teach other people in this way too. So it's a little bit more prescriptive than, let's say, a PN1, which is I think a little bit more open-ended despite all the great information in there.
Throughout your 3 pillars, can you fix SIBO without me changing anything in my lifestyle?
No. So for some of these diagnosed gastrointestinal disorders, we are going to go to a qualified practitioner, which technically I am a licensed nutritionist and have done a good amount with gut stuff. And I think there are some great protocols. I know you're joking, but nevertheless, I've focused mostly on just Gen Pop, because what I found when I first started, I was doing stuff like send me the people with the gastro disorders, send me the autoimmunity people. But I realized so many of them, as we were kind of talking about before this began, they didn't have the basic wellness practices in place. And I was like, even if we were to do these protocols, which actually work in those cases, they still need to do the fruit and veggie thing. They still need to do the protein thing. They still need to do the activity thing. And that's already missing. And so then I just sort of found myself getting away from any of the specialties questions, sending them out to those qualified practitioners and saying, no, I'm doubling down on the basics here.
Yeah. I have a few friends who kind of niched... niche, whatever
you say it. They niche.
In France, where I'm from, they say niche. Where they were in that area, and then they got really frustrated because people just over and over again, they did not want to change anything, and they just wanted to be complaining. Mm-hmm. They expected something really quick, and it just became very frustrating for them, and got out of it, and is now doing exactly what you're doing, because people just didn't want to put any work in to change anything.
And I think, to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I love the fitness community. I mean, that was always such a big part of my life. But I think once somebody's bought in on fitness regularly, they've already sort of started the unlock for nutrition. I do think nutrition is a little bit harder than the unlock for fitness, but I consider fitness like the gateway drug, if you will, to making nutrition successful. And so to me, it's almost like that a pre-screener if they're ready to kind of dive into some of these lifestyle or diet changes.
Yeah, and it makes sense because they've put work in and seen how it takes that work to create a change physically, whether it's just getting stronger or having better cardio capacity. They understand that. So
Exactly.
they're like, man, I want this to be a little easier. I want gains to be a little bit better. And this is the only thing I'm not paying attention to at all. So that totally makes sense. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, the nutritional piece is really, that's the hack. Like everybody's looking for the hack. That's the hack. It's like, can you make 3 to 5 good decisions per day more often than not? And that's really what it comes down to. It doesn't.
You just got to become more primal. You got to eat liver. We got to get back to our ancestral.
That's
habits.
right. The ancestral tenets of steroids.
Correct.
Correct. I just got back from the grocery store, and I hate being one of these fucking judgmental people, but I am. And I'm looking at the woman's cart in front of me. I didn't know you could even do this. You can build your own 6-pack of large wine. I'm not saying like the thin regular wine bottles, but like the Magnum wine bottles, the ones that are like triple the size. She had 6 of them. Now, no, nothing else in the cart. I'm thinking like, is this going to be a party? But it was that, and it was like a thing of cottage cheese. I'm like, okay, at least she's getting some protein. Now, I don't know if she ran out of her stock. I don't know what's going on at home. Maybe she was having a party, but still. Then the person behind me, chips, processed foods, cookies, crackers, not a vegetable in sight, no meat whatsoever. And then you walk through the grocery store doors and there's this massive display, like summertime barbecue, and just the entire perimeter of the door is chips. All the different Lay's brands.
Like a balloon archway of chips.
Yep. And on the right side is inside the grocery store is an entire wall of soda. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, it's not confusing why there's a problem anymore.
Exactly.
I also don't think that there's anybody really walking around, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just so surrounded by people who know what the fuck they're talking about that I'm missing out on the other percentage of humans that walk into that store and don't see that could potentially be an issue if it's overconsumed. Because I never want to tell people, don't eat this, don't eat that, this food is better than that food. But is there really anybody at this point that's looking at a bag of chips or at a crumble cookie and being like, this is my best option?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Nobody is confused that, broccoli is better than McDonald's. But I do think there is something, about the environment. I'm sure that's one of the things that you tell your clients. In fact, I think we talked about it, right? Like if the mom wants to change the dinner, she's just going to change the dinner and buy those foods. And that's what's going to be around the house, that you don't necessarily, have to wait for other people to get on board with it. But the point is you're going to, quote, clean up your environment. And so now we have this environment where it's just everywhere. And I talk about that all the time. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like drugstores and gas stations and, home stores. You go to buy new sheets for the bed and you can buy all these, snacks in the wellness aisle.
I remember it hitting me at Old Navy.
Exactly.
I was at Old Navy. And now there's like a snack section before you get to the checkout. That was the day that I'm like, in Old Navy? Like you got used to seeing it in CVS or like right at, or even Staples. You'd get used to like the snacks there. But then I'm going, this is Old Navy. Yeah. And they just got bags of chips at checkout.
Best Buy, you go to buy a TV, you can also get peanut butter cups. You go to Michael's, you want to do a craft? Okay, go get some Twizzlers. It's banks. You go to a bank, you're going to get your little flavored latte and the candy jar. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So I hear you. I don't think we need more education, but I definitely think the environment is not set up for people who need to make change, and habit change can be hard, especially if you're in a position where you have extra weight to lose. It is challenging, I think. I think we're just inundated, and I would love to see something along the lines of smoking regulations where it gets a little bit more restricted of where we can sell it. Like this is one of my, ideas, of course. We'll see. I don't think it'll ever pass. But like if the place doesn't make much a percentage of their income off of food, let's say like a drugstore, they can't sell all this crap. Or if it's like a Michael's store, it's a craft store, they should be selling craft stuff. They can't be selling all this stuff. Or like regulating it to a certain part of the grocery store. That's not the wall of chips when you walk in. There has to be some regulations around it because the environment is crushing us.
I absolutely agree. I remember, did you ever see the documentary Fed Up?
I think I did. They start to blend in my mind a little bit.
Yeah, well, that is one of, I think probably the only one that I've seen where I'm like, this was good. Now, there's some bull crap in there with some of the names that you've seen in carnivore or vegetarian or vegan documentaries where it's like they're really kind of demonizing sugar as a specific thing, regardless of the amount that you have. But they address the cigarette thing and how they think that, their hope, or they think that one day in the future we'll look at some of these foods the same way we looked at cigarettes. Like, how are we allowed? When you said that, regulations, I remember when cigarette ads were below the counter, and then it was not allowed to be below the counter because little kids, it's not right in their face. So I think that's a great idea, a great thought. You are not a food store. You are not selling snacks. Or even if we start with you, it's in the back of the store, not at checkout.
Totally. There has to be something in the environment for sure to change.
I'm not sure how much validity there is to it, but I don't know if you guys know who Michael Easter is, but he was recently talking about how snacking really wasn't a thing until like the 1970s. Again, I don't know. I wasn't around back then. But it seems like it's really exploded. I mean, it's really become almost a replacement for eating now. It's like, well, I'm just grazing or I'm snacking. And people don't realize the harm that does from an internal chemistry perspective as far as wiring your brain to then want that. So, EC, I want you to talk about that with some of your clients who tend to fall into that category of like, well, I don't really eat much. But we know that they're not really nourished. Right, they're poorly nourished because they're not eating a lot of nutrient density, but they are consuming a lot of calories, which is also making them feel, unsatiated and unsatisfied. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I do follow the similar process for all of my clients, although there's a lot of flexibility at each stage. So I don't want to, again, make it sound like everybody's doing the same thing. But I do start with people looking at the fruits and vegetables in their diet with my 800-gram challenge. It's this idea to eat 800 grams by weight of the fruits and vegetables of their choice. It includes things like potatoes and beans, so things that people don't classically think of as fruits and veggies. That's step one. And then step two is to add a certain amount of protein. I'm at the 0.7 grams per pound level, up to 1 if they're somebody of your fitness level, but mostly they're going to be in that 0.7 gram per pound level.
She was talking to me. She was talking to me when she said that. I just want to clarify that. That's right, Jim.
Audience. I was talking to you, not Aram.
And the only reason why she said that is because he looks visibly frail. So she's trying to.
I'm not giving no comment.
It's easy for me to hit my body weight. Aram,
104 grams of protein.
Much more protein. But so I don't really even address the snacking. I have not had success trying to go after the habits that are negative or need to change. I sort of sidestep them and I'm like, cool, you like chocolate, you want to eat 20 times a day, you like wine, we're not even touching that right now. We're going to add fruits and veggies, you're going to pick them. You're going to figure out a sustainable volume for you. 800 is a pretty good number. And then we're going to figure out some protein. And so I really don't even try to get into the snacking foods or taking them away, and instead just focus on that nourishing piece, which you mentioned. And it's like, fill them up with the fruits and veggies, fill them up with the protein. That starts to, as you know, start to affect the quantity of the snacking foods without getting into that restrictive mindset or don't do this, or you shouldn't be eating snacks, because I think that backfires a little bit with clients.
So it's essentially addition by subtraction.
Exactly. Now, of course, the third step is calories. So we are going to have to subtract something at some point.
Yeah.
But it's like, I really like it when my clients are saying, "Oh gosh, this is so much food." To me, I'm like, that's the best complaint ever. I'm like, for a diet, I'll take it. That's the problem we're going to work with. Okay. It's too much food. And so, we get to that point where they're like, wow, this is really filling. Wow, I'm really satisfied. Then it's like, okay, now we have to figure out the right number of calories. And it might be a little bit less than you wanted it to be, but that's then your discretionary budget for the chocolate or the snacks. And if you really want to do them in 6 times a day, so be it. But typically we've set the habits around those whole foods first. And so then it's just kind of an easier transition. And it's how I kind of go about it.
Yeah, it reduces the desire. I mean, that's why when we've tried to clarify that before, and you hear people say, I'm eating more and losing weight. Right. You're eating more volume of food when you switch to everything that you're talking about, 800 grams of fruits and whatnot a day. You're eating more volume, but less calories. So it's going to be much easier to sustain a quote unquote diet at a lower calorie range if you're not eating those things. I just had a client asking me something about good snacks. And I said, the best snack is a fuller meal. If you're getting more filling meals, you're not going to feel the need to snack. And to ask the question, are you snacking because you are hungry, or are you snacking because you're in the habit of it? Important to investigate those things I think is important for some people. That's a great strategy where it's like you're distracting them completely by just, cool, we could do this next. I just need you to eat this stuff first. And they're
Totally.
like, I don't even want this.
It's, I don't even like, there's no no's. And I know that sounds so woo or whatever, but yeah, I mean, ultimately any food can be part of a healthy diet. It's just figuring out the right amount. And once we prioritize some other things, that right amount falls in line a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Mike T. Nelson used to do with a lot of his clients, or still probably does. He talks about the idea of, I'm going to give you what you need, and then you can have what you want. Mm-hmm. Right? If you want the soda, if you want the chips, if you want the candy, go ahead and eat it. But it's no different than when a parent's like, finish your vegetables and fruits on the plate and then have your cookie. I'm all for that, because I think really what we're seeing now is that I think most people suffer from a lack of preparation. That's the first place to look, is people just aren't preparing food as often or as much or in volumes that they can just assemble meals and bring them with them. I think there's also almost this stigma of like, I don't want to have to be the person that brings my food with me. Whereas like, I mean, I'm sure you work with a lot of moms. Moms have no problem packing their kids' food to bring to a 2-hour baseball game. But for that same baseball game, they haven't eaten in 5 hours and they don't eat anything until they get home, and they just don't bother to bring food for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I fundamentally don't understand that. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Is like, if I'm going to go through the effort of making you a little plastic container of stuff to sustain you while you're out here, maybe I should have the same thing for myself. So how do you address the lack of preparation?
Yeah, it's so funny. So I run this, like I kind of do cohorts, and it's very education based, but it's also like a 10-week program. We go through all the steps together. We do lives. It's this whole group thing, but there's a ton of education, and we get all the questions about, cortisol and insulin, and what about my fasting glucose, and, all of that stuff, MPS. Okay, great. We go all that stuff. And I think probably 85% of people at the end are like, oh, so if I prep, all goes well. Yep. I love it. It's like this really great deep dive into content and stuff that they all see on the internet. And then they come away with, oh, this stuff is really easy if I just like take Sunday and prep or think about my meals a little bit more. So again, I try to, I do a lot of stuff where I kind of let them run a little bit. And then when it goes astray, they kind of learn their own lessons, but I'm with them for 10 weeks. So of course we're going to have them run astray in 10 weeks because we're human, right? There's going to be some days that go off track in 10 weeks. And so they're like, oh, wow, they get to look back and think, okay, that week went really well. Why was it? It was the week I prepped. And they have that lesson often. And so most clients just kind of come to the realization that, yeah, this is what I have to do. And one of the clients I'm going to chat about, which I think is a great strategy for people, and I do recommend this as well, is he was overwhelmed with tracking. He was in a government position during some transition, which was a little bit stressful earlier this year. And he's like, look, I just can't even keep up with the app and stuff like that. And I was like, great. I'm sure you've had 5 successful days so far. Find those 5 successful days and you live them on repeat. What's there to log if you're eating the same days on repeat? And it was just a great strategy for him of seeing like, oh yeah, I just buy the same things. I do the prep work, and guess what? He got to his results that he wanted. So it's a little bit of them coming to their realization on their own that, yeah, that's the main hack. It's not about knowing more about MPS rates,
The nuance to me. What's that? Yeah. I was going to say the nuance is fun for us as practitioners, and it's interesting because we get to nerd out on it, and then we get to kind of distill it and provide it to the general public. And I think that's what our value as professionals is to distill this information in a practical manner. But at the end of the day, for as much as we all know, it literally always comes back down to, have you put beef in a pan and browned it and put it in a container? Mm-hmm. Did you pair that beef with a vegetable and a natural starch that's, a potato or something? Did you put some type of a condiment on it that was relatively low calorie and tasty for you? Cool. You just figured out how to make a meal. Do that nutrition 3 more times that day, and you've hacked nutrition for the rest of your life. Now, I was talking to a woman yesterday. She's kosher. So she's 100% kosher, keeps kosher. And she's like, no coach has been able to come up with a plan for me. I said, well, it's not the coach's responsibility to give you a plan. If they give you marching orders and guardrails, which is what calories and macronutrient targets can be, you know what foods are on the table and what foods are not on the table. I don't. I mean, I could learn, but I don't. Now, if you understand that I need X amount of protein, X amount of carbs, X amount of fats, X amount of calories, and this is my list of foods, pair them however the hell you want. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then the second limitation came. Well, I don't like eating leftovers. Okay. So it's either you're going to cook every single meal, every single day, fresh on site, which you don't have the schedule for, or you're going to have to kind of get a little uncomfortable for a little while and eat some leftover food.
Yeah.
Those are and unfortunately, those are your only two options. I don't see a door number 3 unless you see one that I don't.
No, no, I don't see a door number 3, but I do think, and I really put this together. I think I kind of knew the idea in my program, but I saw in Alan Aragon's book, Flexible Dieting, how he summarized it. I was like, that was so great, is that ultimately people do want autonomy in their nutrition. And that's what I love for them to get to, this place where, yeah, you gave them the guide rails, but they figured out, okay, these are the foods that I have to put together. But I think when people are coming to you at first, they're so overwhelmed with all this information, the frustration they've had to date, that they're just like, I finally hired this qualified coach. Just give me the plan, make it really simple. But ultimately, by you making them kind of learn they have to prep, and these are the things that you have to put together to hit your numbers, it's more effective for them in the long term. And I'm sure that they see that over time. But in the beginning, there's like, they'll be like, do you give meal plans? I'm like, no, I don't give meal plans. Those things fall apart. They're not going to last. They're not the foods you like. We're going to do this day by day, and you're going to figure out the combinations that you like, because that's where ultimately the nutrition freedom comes in, right?
Yeah, I mean, even that person who's eating the same meal every day during that season, you eventually, I would hope, kind of figure out, like, I'm getting sick of chicken. I'm going to swap that for steak.
Right. Yeah, they'll figure out.
It's at the end of the day, what we're describing is the same meal every day, just a different meat, maybe a different veggie, and a different carb source. I'm doing potatoes instead of rice. I'm doing sweet potatoes instead of white potatoes. Which one's better? Correct. Like we're just swapping out, but it's the same stuff.
That is the simplicity of templated nutrition. That's why I always find it funny when coaches online are like, absolutely customized and personalized nutrition. I'm like,
all right,
what is it? Are you going over to the house and cooking for them like a 4-star chef? Because
it's custom because you told me how much you weigh, and then I gave you macros based on that.
That's it.
So therefore, it's custom.
And that's honestly the only customization that I don't. Let's be honest. Most of our clients' goals are, I want to be less fat and be more visibly muscular. More often than not, body composition is the ultimate goal. How do we achieve that? Nutrition is what's going to take care of the body fat problem. Lifting will take care of the muscle mass issue. So however you want to arrive at your nutritional destination, that's on you. And I don't care how many coaches you go through. Our job is not to teach you how to eat. It's to give you some level of control, some level of structure that you otherwise didn't have. I put up a post today saying that if you don't want to track calories, cool, do a fad diet. I don't give a shit. Because at the end of the day, that's still more structure than you had last week, last month, last year. Because most people are living their life in just utter chaos. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to eat next. Well, you should. Well, I don't want to have to think about food. Well, you're going to have to. Like, you have to think about these things. It's not automatic for you yet. I don't think about what I'm going to eat for lunch because I eat the same shit every day. And it's not because I'm forcing myself to eat it or it's only fuel. I enjoy the food that I eat. It's not tasty.
Exactly.
I just had a bowl of cottage cheese with vanilla yogurt, granola, and raspberries with some honey. Like, what's wrong with that? And it took me 30 seconds to put together, weigh, and measure. Now, I believed for the longest time that I had all these gut health problems. And I've done 2 GI maps. It's not a gut health problem when you're eating well.
Tell.
Yeah, some of the GI stuff is definitely where there's a lot of sideways information online.
You'll like this. Aram, tell us about when you did your recent, very expensive, high supplement gut protocol, how compliant you were.
75%.
He was totally honest with it. He's on here and he's talking. He's like, yeah, I'm taking all this stuff, I'm doing this and that, trying to fix it. He goes, I'm not even following it. I'm expecting to have some kind of a result.
I wasn't tracking the month of April and May because I had my event, and then afterwards I just took a break from tracking and just wanted to see how I would feel with it. And like any other fucking human being, you give me an inch and I took a mile. Every single time I took a mile. It was extra eating after dinner. It was bites, licks, and taste of everything without ever having any thought about it. It was way more snacks, way more processed foods in the pantry. And it was because I gave myself that leeway. And if I, as a nutrition coach who knows almost everything there is to know about it, is doing that, what is your average person doing when you give them that much rope? They're going to hang themselves with it. So I don't, but and I wanted you to talk about the psychological aspect of all of this verbiage of disordered eating, or at people labeling themselves as binge eaters when they're not, and people using these diagnoses and almost over pathologizing these things and then labeling themselves and then being stuck in that narrative.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Agreed. I think there's a lot of, if you start labeling yourself in a certain way, like I'm the person who doesn't exercise or I'm the person who's not successful, well, you've already said your outcome. And so you just switching that sort of self-talk is kind of the first step of like, I can do this and I can be a healthy person, or I can be a healthy eater, whatever it is. I honestly think is the first step before even cleaning out the pantry or adding the fruits and vegetables or whatever the first step is from the coach. But yeah, I mean, I think there's just so much silly stuff on the internet that's where these people get these ideas. Because I get frustrated. Like I think sometimes I've seen it when I post stuff that people will maybe not like my tone, or they'll think that, I'm attacking them, when really I'm attacking the industry. I'm sure you get frustrated too. There's just so much crap out there. You can't turn left or right and see something that's like, no wonder my clients think they can lose 40 pounds in a month. I mean, that's literally on the cover of magazines at the grocery store that I go to. It's like lose 40 pounds by, whatever it is, by Labor Day. And it's just like, that's not how it works. So there's so much crap out there that I think that's what seeds all these ideas of I'm a disordered eater or I'm the binge eater. And it's like taking on these personas when really you get down to it. And just like you said, they just don't have any of the basics in place. I mean, I think the stat is something like 95%. I know it's at least 90, but 90 to 95% of Americans don't get enough fiber day to day. So it's like, do you really have a gut health problem, or are we just not eating enough fiber? But I have a lot of empathy for our clients. I get highly, highly frustrated at the industry, but I do think that these ideas about what's going wrong for them, the disordered eating, the binge eater, the whatever it is, the hormonal imbalance, is actually from really just crappy content out there that they got sucked into. I was sucked into it for a while too. Like I didn't eat banana for 3 years because I was afraid of, spiking my glucose. So I totally get it. You get sucked into this stuff and then that's all you get in your freaking feed,
Do you think it's a
What are the
level of
three
tribalism
pillars?
and groupthink? Do you think that's what it is? Do you think it's like, I have this issue, other people seem to have the same issue as me, so if I start to prescribe to this narrative and this line of thinking, I will find my answer eventually because this tribe of people has probably found theirs. Because, like you said,
Yeah.
I get attacked, not constantly, but I get attacked almost on a weekly. But I'm gonna poke the bear a little bit. I have to. That's the way that I am.
You have to play the game a little bit.
And I poke the bear on purpose because I want people to start thinking about it in a way that they haven't thought about it before. And I don't know if there was this reel going around of this guy owns a gym in Atlanta, and black dude sitting in his car, and he's just like, just keep doing all your fat shit. I'm done trying to convince you about trying to exercise more and trying to eat better. And every time you come at me in my comment section, I go to your profile. I go right to your profile, and you'd be on some fat shit. And like, as much as I want to be empathetic and understanding of everybody's situation, but every time I go to a profile of somebody who's fucking with me about what I say about menopause, about what I say about calories, it's always somebody who's overweight. It's always somebody in their 40s and 50s who has been convinced that they have all of these pathological problems that are preventing the law of thermodynamics from working. So at some point, I run out of empathy because at that point, you're choosing to stay stuck.
But how many people on the internet have PhD after their name that are saying things that you think are BS?
That's true. That's true.
And I came out. So my second master's was nutrition and functional medicine, and functional medicine has a lot of sideways information in there as well. Like, and I also used to live in Boulder, so epicenter of wellness, right?
Yeah.
And I would have people come to me to work on nutrition with me, and some of them shared their invoices from other businesses in the area of what they were charging. We're talking $13,000 for a nutrition plan. I'm not exaggerating.
$13,000 for how
I'm
long?
not exaggerating.
Just for the plan, not even follow up.
Yeah, I mean, it
or
was for them
anything,
to be,
just-
quote, diagnosed, and then they're going to get this plan with their supplements, of course, and then they're going to be told to eat whole foods. And this is coming from people who have credentials. So I hear you. Like, I've seen it so many times, and there's so many people who are well-known influencers in our space, and they'll say these most silly, ridiculous things that are just like, this is not how it works, but they have a PhD after the name and they talk about the mechanism. And so I do think for people that are not experts in the field, like it's very easy to be sucked into the wrong information. You know, like if somebody were to tell me something about taxes, I always give this example. I know nothing about taxes. You could tell me anything about it, be like, sure, okay, sounds good, you know, because I just don't know. And so I think, you know, if you think about it from like an accounting point of view or a music teacher, and then you tell them some hormonal mechanism.
And also too, that stuff might be true for an outlier client that they had. And this was the thing that helped address or fix their problem. And now you're blanketly putting it out there, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, I fart a lot too. That must be me. You know, that's what I need.
That's
so that's a big problem too, I see is, I mean, even we see it's the same thing with the trainers on there talking about a very specific, maybe rep range or, you know, the long head and the short. That's not for the average person. It's for a very specific clientele that maybe has to deal with some of these things. You should not be out there jumping on Bosu balls if it doesn't apply to you. And
I think that's a great point. I mean, like, you know, one of the wellness trends, as you know, is the continuous glucose monitor. Turns out they're imperatively life-saving for insulin-dependent diabetics. Like, wonderful application. We need them. Okay.
That's why I need one.
Right. Okay.
Even though I don't have it.
Okay,
I
was going to say.
It looks cool and it shows people that I care about my health.
Well, then that's then this like trying to take a really targeted application and making it really broad for wellness, and that gap gets bridged too many times, in my opinion.
Well, it's the same thing as people complain. Well, after you eat this, your blood sugar spikes.
Right.
Yeah. Good.
Exactly.
that's what's going to happen.
But then for millennia.
Yeah. That's a problem for maybe one person with their specific issue, but not for the average person. Not for any person.
The amount of people that I think cite and use the words cortisol and insulin in sentences that they can't even explain to somebody is wild. I mean, people don't understand the endocrine system and how complex it really is. And people don't understand even something as simple sounding as glucose metabolism has so many different pathways, and there's insulin resistance on 4 different levels of the physiology that I couldn't start to explain to anybody. So I'm not going to concern myself with that. I know that carbs aren't bad. I know that you can eat too many of them, and I know which ones have fiber and which ones don't. If you know that much, you know everything you need to know to be a healthy person who can manage their weight or lose it if you want to. And I think that's the problem is now we're missing the forest for the trees. We're being susceptible to all of this. We're becoming susceptible to all this messaging because it just doesn't stop. It gets louder and louder because every single time you try to question one of these people, right? And I know exactly who you're talking about. I have no problem speaking about her or the rest of her fucking clique. But every time that one of these maniac women puts their fucking weighted vest on and sits in front of their 96 supplements and tells you what you're doing wrong, well, of course you're going to be like, well, she's my age. She kind of looks like a person I would want to look like, so I'm going to take advice from her. I'm not going to listen to this scary-looking, jacked 41-year-old who clearly has no clue what he's talking about women's physiology. He doesn't even have a uterus. What does he know? Well, yeah, I get it, but I don't have 2.7 million followers, and I'm not trying to sell you a book. I'm just trying to get you to understand that you're missing all of these steps leading into the problem that you have, because what happens to most people? Well, nothing's changed. I just started putting on weight. From where? How? Like, how did it just fall out of the sky and into your belly? No. Like, you had to have.
Well, that's the thing. People say nothing changed. The nothing that didn't change was you not paying attention. That was what was consistent. Nothing changed. You were not paying attention to it before, and you're still not paying attention to it. Something obviously changed, but your perception, you were never paying attention to it. So how could you know if something changed or not?
But we've raised awareness on it. So now, because somebody's pointed the finger at the problem, you now hyperfixate on that problem. It's like, well, Marie Claire Haver said that I have a hormone problem and it's my estrogen. Fuck her. I don't. She can. I would love for her to come at me any day.
There's a few
She's
in
not
that
listening
genre.
to us.
There's a few in that genre. Yeah.
We're so below
I wanted to ask
her
you.
radar.
Oh yeah. No, I don't worry about that. I actually don't. It's like fine, because I also get clients, I'm sure you do as well, who have tried some of those protocols and they realize it's not sustainable. And I actually prefer that. That's how I advertise too. It's like, you've tried this, you've tried that. If you've not found anything sustainable, So I kind of wait until they're like bought in, because once they're like really interested in what you're doing, then that's actually going to work. If they're still really stoked on whatever the menopause hormone therapy diet is at du jour, I'm like, go do it. Let me know how it goes. When that doesn't work, I'm here.
Yeah.
And then also too, like understand. I mean, just there's a lack of common sense. I mean, obviously, based on everything that everybody's saying today, there's a lack of self awareness with a lot of this stuff, but just a lack of common sense. If you do a protocol to fix a problem, the problem comes back when you go back to living the lifestyle that you were living before. It seems like, well, why does somebody think at one point you didn't have the problem and then your lifestyle caused this? Now you're going to do this supplement routine and you're going to do a face cold bath plunge for a cortisol reset. And you're going to learn how to meditate and breathe. And now I'm better. Now my cortisol face is gone. I can go right back to stress eating, not doing anything that was actually helping my mental health, which maybe helped somebody's chronic cortisol or whatever it might be. But I wanted to ask you, what are for the people that sign up with your next cohort after listening to this, what are the 3 pillars that you focus on with your clients? You had referenced that earlier.
Yeah, so it's quality is the first step, but I do that with my 800-gram challenge. That's the fruits or veggies. And certainly you can get quality nutrients out of meat and grains, but I just find the bang for the buck and the low caloric density combined with the vitamins and minerals and fiber that I just focus on adding the fruits and veggies. So it's quality first with fruits and veggies, then protein, and then calories. And ultimately what that allows for people tends to be a little bit more flexibility than, let's say, a macros approach, because I don't really worry about the carb and fat splits. I find that as long as protein is set high enough, which certainly my 0.7 is going to be high enough, carbs and fat are going to fall in the 30s to 40% range. And that's enough precision for any of my clients.
Yes.
If I had some, Tour de France rider, I would get a little bit more exact on the carb to fat breakdown. But I mean, who has those as clients?
Correct.
I mean,
even that's just a huge point. Like these, the things that people get hung up on don't matter for most people. I completely agree with you. If calories and protein are equated for, I think all the research even shows it doesn't matter.
Especially for body comp, you could argue for some high intensity training, we need to make sure they have enough carbs. I find that so long as I always say this line, so long as my clients don't do anything wacky, they don't start at the day going, I am having no carbs today, or like I am having no grams of fat today. So long as they don't do that, it's going to fall in this mixed macronutrient ratio, because food exists in mixed macronutrients. And so it's going to be a mixed, balanced macronutrient diet within reason, albeit not a perfect zone 40-30-30, which is not necessary.
Is there anything that you've changed your mind about over the last few years in your career that have kind of shaped the way that you've now coach?
Yeah. Great question. I probably have lowered my protein. I probably was somebody who would have been closer to 1 gram per pound, kind of the dogma du jour. So probably gotten a little bit lower on that. I've probably increased my empathy, which I think is good. I think when you're somebody who's been active and fit all your life, it's like, why wouldn't you just do that when you've never really had that struggle? So that's something I've come to understand, I think, better. I also think I've gotten more like hands off, and I probably like people like, oh God, this is a coach saying this. But I really like my clients to kind of live and experience it and figure out what their questions are, versus necessarily being like, no, this is where you have to be on day 3, follow my schedule. It's like, okay, well, that's not how life works. Like, let's be really real about what that is. So off the top of my head, I'd love to think about that more, but those are kind of the ones that come to mind.
I was going to say less hand holding
more
versus
guiding.
more hands off.
Yeah.
It's like, because there is a big, I mean, there's sometimes a little too much hand holding, and people at a certain point, it's like, if you still need approval on a decision after months and months and months of working with a coach, you're not understanding or learning or even self-developing at that point. You're still in this fear mindset.
Yeah, no, for sure. So it's a little bit less of, I like that, less hand holding. Yeah.
Just helping you out for next time you bring it up to a potential client.
I'll have that one ready next time. Next time.
So I want to switch gears a little bit. You were talking today in your stories about knee pain, and I thought it was brilliant. It was so brilliant. It was like, hey, I've had knee pain for X amount of months, and today I spent X amount of time stretching and foam rolling, and voila, my knee pain went away.
Amazing.
So talk about what was going on with the knee pain prior
Yeah.
to, and what were you
hmm
neglecting for a long time?
Yeah. I mean, to even preface that further, it's not like whatever, but yeah, I mean, I worked for CrossFit for, I don't even know, since like 2006. Like I've pretty been into this fitness thing for a long time till 2017 when I resigned. So like pretty into this, pretty, understanding how the body moves, certainly been around my own injuries. So it's like not new to this fitness thing. And so I've had knee pain for the last several months, largely due to pickleball. I certainly played sports growing up, but all of like the cutting on the court back and forth, like I was in the morning, I don't even want to say this, but here we go. Many mornings in the last several months when I go down the stairs, it's like the one foot follows the other down each
Mm.
stair. And like, so I'm like, oh my gosh, my knees hurt. So I decided to stretch. I started to stretch. I'm actually on day 3 of stretching, Aram, so not just day 1. And turns out I don't have knee pain.
Now watch. Now, people listening, stretching won't fix all pain.
This is true.
Sometimes you need
This
to
is true.
strengthen. But right now, someone's going, okay, I'm going to stretch.
Yeah,
That's
it's gonna
it. It
fix
should
my
fix
torn
it.
ACL.
If
It
it
won't
doesn't,
fix a torn ACL,
yeah.
but some of those basics, it turns out,
Well,
really do work. And it's just,
I
I mean, I like that you mentioned it or whatever, you messaged back, and it's like, it's true. I mean, happens for people in nutrition all the time, but it's just like you do this couple basic things and you're like, wow, I feel really great. I don't have to walk down the stairs in a convoluted manner. Maybe I'll keep doing this. So it is hopefully a feed forward mechanism that it's like, yeah, once you get a few good meals under your belt and you realize that you feel terrible after the bag of chips, that okay, let's keep that habit going.
and it's interesting to
yeah.
me the amount of tolerance that people have for feeling
Mm.
like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
my tolerance to feel like shit was much higher in years prior, and as I get older, my tolerance of feeling like shit is lower and lower. Like
Mm.
I'm going to Vegas this weekend. I'm gonna probably spend from 11:30 a.m. until God knows what on Sunday morning drinking and probably
Mm.
doing recreational drugs. Do I expect
Mm-hmm.
to wake up on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday and feel my best? No. But if this is
Mm.
something that I want to do and I choose to do it once every 6 to 12 months, there's no problem there for me. I think the issue that comes with people's behavior is that they're in this perpetual loop of I'm going to feel good for a couple of days, then I'm going to give myself grace, which
Mm-hmm.
that's a new phrase that's gaining popularity. I'm just going to give myself grace. It's like you've been giving yourself grace for 25 years. Let's maybe reel it in a little bit. And
Mm.
then I'm going to have to restart the entire
I'm
cadence
going to
all over again
expand
on
my
Monday.
boundaries.
And it's this just loop. And
Mm.
I posted about it yesterday. It's like you're not going to care all of summer. Then in September you're going to wake up disappointed. You're going to put your fucking foot on the gas pedal until you
Mm-hmm.
floor it until October when the Halloween candy comes out in the office. Then that's going to become your new problem,
Mm-hmm.
which will feed right into Thanksgiving because that starts in October now, which Christmas already started for
Mm-hmm.
some people now because Jimmy has a wreath hanging up in his house. So Christmas is already alive and well in the Hallinan household right there.
I'm closer to the next Christmas than I was to the last one, so I am on point.
Mm.
So it's almost like now we've
You
gone
know
from
what?
like January being a rush to really
Mm-hmm.
people are wanting to comply or their coast is clear enough to comply for 4 out of 12 months a year. And that's all it is. It's
Mm-hmm.
like March, April, then September, October. And every other month is a fucking throwaway month. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm being unreasonable saying that.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of gotten my point. I mean, I loved your point of like how long will feel like crap. I mean, I had knee pain for several months. I've been into this stuff for a while, and I was just like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And then it would get a little bit less, the days away, and then it would come back. So it's a cyclical pattern that you just sort of mentioned and all this stuff. But I'm sort of fine in quotes with that for people because you have to wait until they're ready.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
work when I certify my coaches who want to come through my system or whatever, we talk about sales and marketing to some degree. And I'm like, look, of course I do marketing, of course, but there is this, you really want to wait until the client is like no, I'm in. I want to do this. I'm looking for something sustainable. They're not just signing up for accountability. Yes, accountability is of course part of it, but if that's the only reason and they're not ready to do this themselves and they're not bought in on the idea that they have to overhaul their life, like I'm like, well, wait until that moment. It's just like me earlier this week. It's like, well, this is ridiculous. You've got tight hip flexors. You've known this for years. I'm sick of walking down the stairs like a stupid, in a weird way. Let me go ahead and finally fix this. And guess what? I'm actually going to stick to this now and continue. So there is a little bit of element of it's like, you kind of want the person to stay in the washing machine cycle, if you will, till they're really ready, because that's when the changes are actually going to stick.
Is there anything for somebody who's listening who thinks they're ready? Like any questions or thoughts or things dig into for them to really figure out if they are ready or not? Because a lot of people say they're ready and then they start and they're like, this is too much.
So one of the things I do, it's not cut in stone, but I ask them if they could snap their fingers today, how many pounds would they want gone? And so let's just say they say 10 pounds lost. Well, whatever number of pounds they tell me, I double it in my mind. And I say, okay, well, that's going to be 20 weeks. Now, of course, you can go to no shortage of magazines or other coaches that are going to tell you much less time than that. And certainly we all know that you can lose weight faster than that. But to me, that's a very good guideline, knowing that people aren't perfect, that we're going to set some habits first, that we're going to have to go through the trenches a little bit to get there. And generally that's in my opinion, albeit not perfect, I never bat 100% with nutrition. That's a great screen for people. If they want to lose 20 pounds and I'm like, yeah, we're looking at a year. And just right up front. And if they're like, yeah, I'm in. And you can tell people like, ooh, okay, interesting. Or other people like, no, that sounds great. I've literally had clients be like, that sounds great. This sounds totally different than whatever else I've done. I'm like, okay, we're on.
What kind of
kickback? So I think setting those expectations up front can really help them determine. Oh yeah. I mean, people will be like, oh really? And I'm like, yeah, but that's also like my big, want for clients is maintenance, is not just we're going to lose the weight, but you're actually going to keep these results. And when you look at the stats of weight loss maintenance, like I don't even know why we signed up to be nutrition coaches. If you look at how bad they are, we're batting like 0% as an industry, almost 0%. There's very, very few success rates. I mean, some of them are just really bad. I mean, one of the stats I saw out of a recent article was there's a 1 in 10 chance this year that somebody will accomplish a 5% weight loss. So you're taking somebody who's 200 pounds, there's a 1 in 10 chance they're going to lose 10 pounds this year.
That's wild.
So like for me, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this nutrition thing, which I know can be really powerful. How am I actually going to get my person to get results and then sustain them? Because they're done all these yo-yo cycles, washing machine cycle that we just mentioned about. So to me, it's like, we got to do a whole different approach. We're overhauling. This is not what you're doing before. This is a sustainable thing. And so I just set those expectations. And to me, it comes back to, if they have kickback about it, they're not interested in the process that I want to do. And therefore, it's actually a better screen because it's not going to go well. And so it's like, it's a little bit hard because you're kind of turning down business. But on the other hand, you're kind of screening for people that are going to be successful, which is ultimately better business, right?
Sure.
Yeah, it's like if somebody's not willing, if they're not willing to take a year, they're not willing to do it. Like they're just not understanding this is a lifestyle change. It'd be interesting if you can get somebody, all right, you instantly had the body of your dreams instantly, but you have to take a 30-minute walk every day. And if you skip one day, you're right back to your weight. Like that would be awesome. I mean, nobody's missing that walk. You're going to find the time. You're going to do everything that you have to do. You miss one walk, next day you wake up, Nutty Professor style, right back to where you were. Nobody's missing that walk.
Nobody's missing that walk.
It's like, what if we just had that mentality? Not that you can never miss a walk, but when you do it the right way, you can miss a walk. So look at that. Look at that. Do it the right way. You don't have to have that fear. I think that's too something that people don't understand. When you do it really quick, you are living in fear. You're living in fear of this is going to come back. This is going to come back. When you do it the right way, it's like you're not living that way. You took the time, you put it in, you know it's not going to be instant. You're recognizing how good you actually feel versus how deprived you felt through a quick fix.
Well, and to me, that long time, in part, it's so that we don't have to do these severe caloric deficits. But a large part of it is we have to solidify the habits.
Correct.
I mean, we need all of that time. I mean, one of the studies is like the median time for a diet and lifestyle change to stick is 66 days. And that's for one change. So it's like we need all of this runway time so that by the time you get to your goal weight, you're like, this is just how I live. Like the woman who took a year to take off 25 pounds, like she's just not jumping back. In fact, I checked in with her about a year later. She'd only gained 1 pound. And it's like, she's not going back. She spent a year doing this gosh darn thing. At this point, she knows it backwards and forwards. It is a new life, right?
Yeah. It's funny. I remember going through Precision Nutrition and they had the 2-week, one habit for 2 weeks before you move on to. And I remember going through and be like, that's ridiculous. Like nobody's going to want to start this slow. Mm-hmm. And then over years of doing this, you start going, that is what people need. That is what people need. Yeah. It's wild. But people don't want to start that slow. They want it. They need quicker wins. And I do still think that. But yeah.
Can you get into to the app and the functionality of it?
Yeah. So my 3 Pillars Method app, I launched April. So that's been exciting. Actually, when I started my own thing in nutrition probably 7-8 years ago, I wanted to build an app, and I'm quite thankful I didn't get to do it then, because it gave me the time to really test out my system and my message and work with a lot more clients and try out different platforms. So yeah, it's a combination of all the stuff I've kind of offered over the years. Basically educational programs to work them through the 3 pillars. It's got meal of the day ideas that are from the community user-generated meal of the day. So when they say, I don't know what to eat, guess what? We have a whole library. And then logging and the data analysis in a layered progression fashion where we kind of look at one thing at a time. Sounds like a theme here. And also the breakdown that I like to look at, quality protein and calories, not necessarily a true macro breakdown. There's some other stuff in there too, like a live Q&A with me weekly. And I'm probably forgetting some other stuff. But yeah, it's kind of a culmination of this education, accountability, and also, I guess, inspiration in some way from the meal perspective.
And community, it sounds like, as well.
Yeah. It's not as interactive as like a Facebook, but sometimes I add on cohort models to it. So yeah.
And people can find this through your bio and your social media?
3pillarsmethod.com. It's a web app, so it's not on the, it's the 3pillarsmethod.com. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think people need solutions, and I think people need solutions that are also not rooted in a ton of quantification, because as much as I'm a very big proponent of tracking food, the prerequisite to track food is preparing your own food. And if you're somebody who just doesn't want to exhibit that level of effort, then there are ways that we can still get you where you want to go. They might take a little longer, and there might be more variability in your journey, but you can get there. You can get there eating restaurant food, but it's going to be very boring. And you can get there without tracking your calories, but it's at some point you will need some further precision. But at least if people have a starting point that's reasonable, it takes away that overwhelm initially. So it breaks down that first barrier and gets them at least going. Because once they're going, they can build some momentum. And once they build some momentum and some confidence, they start to feel good. And then it doesn't feel like work anymore. That's, I think, the overarching theme of all of this is we want there to be autonomy, and we want there to be confidence. We want there to be a feeling of, I don't have to ask Jimmy what I need to do this weekend when I'm traveling to Vegas. I just know how to eat without any approval from anybody, without ever second guessing myself again. And the only reason why I stay in this ecosystem is because I want to be a part of this.
Yeah. I mean, that's my main goal. Is I tell it to my clients all the time, is like, as much as I love them, I actually don't want them long-term, because I want them to develop the autonomy. Now, there is some level of like continued accountability that people do like, whether or not it's tracking or meal ideas or just connecting with the community. So I totally appreciate that, because we have to do this eating thing in perpetuity. But I would love for them to develop the autonomy, because I think that's what gives them the freedom. It's like, I don't freak out when, today's going to be a different day if I'm traveling. Like, to me, it's not overwhelming, but I got there through a lot of period of learning and applying it. And so I'd love for my clients to get there as well.
Yeah, that's the hope for all of us. So,
Agreed.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very, very much. I love all the stuff you do on Instagram. I was very honored to be a part of your podcast. If I were you, I would not invite Jimmy on. It would be a waste of an hour, but that's up to you to decide. Yeah.
He doesn't eat enough protein for my podcast.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you right now, Aram knows I'm hitting like on average 230. I'm eating way more than 1 gram per pound. I weigh about 190, and I'm typically at least like 225 to 240 in that range. For me, because it helps keep me very full. I'm just enjoying the large portion of things. It is not something that I am at all having to force feed.
Okay.
Ninja Creamy helps
Oh,
with 60 to 70 grams in one of those a few nights a week.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm probably hitting like Aram numbers, even though he's morbidly obese and he needs the extra protein. But I do hit a lot of protein. It's just where I'm
You're in
at
a
now.
mass gain phase.
I'm actually not. I'm actually wanting. Well, Ram knows. I mean, I for like a year and a half, and any audience who's been listening every week knows for like a year and a half, I had a lot of life changes. I didn't work out. The last 6 weeks, I've been back working out. Hired a coach. For me, it's the accountability. I know exactly. I knew I needed it. I knew I was ready. But for months and months, I'm like, I'm getting my shit together, Ram. A week or two later, it's done. So like I know all those, those struggles that people go up and down with. But like, yeah, with being back tracking, I mean, I felt great right out of the gate. I've been still consistent with it, even at last weekend around those, had a few days of not track, but still overall eating well. I do not eat out. Again, it's not a deprivation for me, and it's not like I'm force feeding protein for myself. And it's not negatively affecting me yet. I'll probably have to purposely bring it down to up the carbs as workouts are now getting more and more intense. Just being back, you're now able to push yourself harder than you were at the beginning. So,
well, a Ninja Creamy, that's a good way to get some protein in. So you're not sacrificing there.
I got my base down pat. It is killer. I use blueberry pie filling at the bottom and then pour the cinnamon. Vanilla wafer mixing. Crush that thing. So yeah, it's my protein's up. So now you have no excuses. Now it's just a personal preference. You don't like me, and that's fine. We all have we all make decisions. But we ask every guest the same question at the end of every episode so that we can compare and judge you to all former guests.
Lay it on me.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
See ya.